Or this computer. Okay. So to start to do a ceiling, basically we're doing a wood slatted felt based ceiling that's laid into ceiling tiles. There's a few ways to do this. I think the simplest way is to just draw a ceiling grid and change the material to be some sort of ACT type panel. So you have this 2x2 ceiling grid, and maybe you just take this ceiling grid system and you change that material to be some sort of material, right? So that's
Hmm.
one way to do it. Probably the better way of doing it um, is a little more intense, but we're going to change this to be just a plain ceiling here. And I'm going to edit the type of this. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple things. The first thing is I'm going to delete my metal, all right, sorry, I'm going to move my gypsum layer up. We're going to delete the metal stud layer. And what we're going to do is we're going to make this kind of that black felt padding that you have in the panels.
Yeah, I don't see when I click edit type, it doesn't let me it doesn't let me get into the layers like you have it.
Like you have edit type and then you have edit structure here.
So is that it's a compound ceiling? I don't have that option.
What do you see when you see yours?
So I have generic, I have 2x2 ACT system, 2x4 ACT system, then I have a GWB on metal stud.
Use the GWB on metal stud. Are you using generic right now?
I was using generic,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's why. So generic is basically an invisible ceiling.
right.
So yeah, use the gypsum on metal stud.
Yep, I got that now. Now I have two layers.
Yeah.
Yep, like that.
So we're gonna move our gypsum layer up, and we're
Okay.
gonna actually, you know what? Let's do this first. Let's go duplicate, and we'll just call this black felt. This is gonna be a little weird, but it's gonna make more sense when we finish. So we're gonna add a structure. We're gonna move our gypsum up. We're gonna delete our metal stud layer. And we just want this like really thin felt layer. So let's just type in fabric and let's just find some canvas. There's probably nothing that's black, so I'm just gonna load up this canvas. We're gonna duplicate material and asset, and we're gonna call this canvas black. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go over to appearance, and we can actually tint this fabric. We might not actually need to be able to tint it. So it says fabric wire white. Let's grab a fabric wire black.
Oh yeah,
And
there it
so that
is.
just becomes a dark fabric, basically.
Hmm.
Let's click OK, and we'll click OK. So now we have this like thin black layer. So the second thing with this is we want to have our ceiling grid, and we
Right.
want to have if you were doing this for construction drawings, who cares? Just do the ceiling grid, call it the felt inlay panels, whatever. If you want to do this for rendering, this black felt layer is really great for it. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to do a roof because we can't do this really as a floor or a ceiling. Ceilings don't have
Hmm.
the ability to do curtain walls. So what we want to do is we want to do a roof, and we'll go to assign to level one, and we're going to do a curtain wall based roof, a sloped curtain wall.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm going to pick all the exterior edges of this ceiling, and we're going to turn off the slopes. And so
Okay,
we're going to have
then.
a ceiling like this, or sorry, um, a piece of glass like this. I'm just going to raise my felt layer up. So my felt layer is above the glass. And so with this glass, we want to do a couple things. We're going to grab the glass and we want to add a grid here. So do you just have a 2 foot by 2 foot square? Is that what you're using?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I'm trying to stay on cue with you, and I think I'm close, but I have generic, or no, we want to be at a sloped glazing
Yeah. So just, yeah, do a roof, slope glazing,
and then
and
offset
then
it
we're just
below.
doing it I use the pick line tool to pick the all the edges
Hmm.
of that. And then I just renamed it. So I went into edit type and duplicated, just renamed it as 2x2 grid.
Duplicate 2 by 2 grid.
Yeah.
And then, so that's supposed to sit flush with the felt.
That doesn't matter yet.
Oh,
But
okay.
do something like that. So I just raised the felt above the grid. We'll fix that in a minute. So that part's not that important.
Okay.
So let's grab, I'm in metric for some reason. Let's grab 30 millimeters square and let's make all of this the 30 millimeters square. In your case, if you have, I think it should be 1 inch by 1 inch square. I don't know why my computer loves to think it's in metric.
1 inch by 1 inch, or
Yeah,
it says rectangle, mullion, 1 inch square.
yeah, that works. We're gonna adjust that, but this gives us a good place to start. And then we're gonna add a grid. So we're gonna add a fixed distance grid, and it's gonna be 2 feet. So I'm in metrics, but I can actually just write 2 feet, and it'll automatically make that the same as 2 feet. And what I'll do here before I go crazy, I'm just gonna change my units uh, to feet fractional inches. And so now we've got this like grid here. Let me just change this to hidden line view so we can see it.
Oh, yep, I can see that now.
Yeah, so we've got that grid now. And the next thing we want to do, we're going to go back to that grid. And what we want to do is we want to make the curtain panel to be empty. And so when you have no curtain panel, it defaults to glazed. And so right now I don't have an empty, so we need to load an empty in. So let's
Empty
go.
system panel.
Yeah, so if you have empty system panel, that's good. If you don't, we'll go to load Autodesk family and we'll type in empty panel. I think it's
Yeah.
called something. Yeah, so just
Yeah,
loading.
this is already looking way better.
Yeah, yeah. So you have your empty panel there. And so we'll load that in. And then I'll just go back to here and I'm going to make this 2x2 grid have an empty panel. And probably a better way to look at it too is just go to your floor plan. And I think you had a camera view. So I'm just going to set up a camera view. Might be a little
Hmm.
easier for me to see here.
Yeah, I mean, this looks awesome. I set it up just how I want it. It
Yeah.
looks light years better.
Yeah. So we're going to take that a few steps further.
I like it.
Um, so we've got our felt layer. Um, so really the ACT is not 1 inch by 1 inch, right? It's actually more of like probably a 1/4 inch by 1 inch. So let's make that change. We're gonna go down to families down here, and we're gonna go to curtain mullions. Curtain mullions are a great tool to do a lot of random hacks like this. We're gonna go to or sorry, we're gonna go to rectangular mullion. We're gonna grab, in my case, my 30 by 30. I'm going to duplicate it. We're going to call this 1 inch by a 1/4 inch mullion. And I just got to figure out what dimension I want it to be. I want it to be, let's go to type prop. We're going to right click, go to type properties. So you see how this right here is basically a 1/2 inch.
Hmm.
We're going to leave that. And what we want to edit is actually the thickness. And the thickness is going to be that 1/4 inch.
So I'm duplicating the 1 inch one.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's basically 1/2 inch on each side and then a 1/4 inch deep, which is it's basically a little thin piece of paper, basically.
Yeah, so we keep the 1/2 inch and then we bring it to, oh wait, both of mine say 1/2 inch.
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
you
you're
want these
saying
1/2 inch and then you want the thickness to be a
thickness
1/4.
quarter. Yeah. Okay.
And so then we'll go back in. Once you do that, we're going to go back and edit your curtain grid.
Yep. And change all those to that one we just created.
Yeah, exactly. And we got one more step after this, which is to create um, our wood slats.
Yep.
And so with this, I'm just going to go to elevation
Oh, that looks awesome. That's cool.
and I'm going to turn on thin lines and let's just move that down below our felt. Black felt, move that black felt up. Yeah, so now you have this kind of great grid. And if I were to turn
Hmm.
on consistent colors, it just kind of has a nice pop to it.
Yep. That's
Uh,
exactly the view I'm looking at too.
yeah. So the next part is basically the same as what we just did, but we're gonna make the next one a little bit thicker. So we're gonna go back down to this. Let's duplicate our inch by a quarter, and we're gonna call this inch by a half. So it's gonna be a little, or maybe we'll do three quarters. Let's do three quarters. So it'll be a little thicker.
Inch by quarter, inch by three quarter.
Yeah. And so let's edit type on that, and we'll change our thickness to be three quarters. And then we're gonna change our material. Actually, let's just I'm gonna add wood here. We're gonna change our material. So I just change the name to show wood. Change our material in this case to be wood. So let me pick an ash. Ash is like a very light wood.
Hmm.
Okay. And
Yep.
then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add another grid.
We duplicating this one that we already
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. So we'll duplicate the two by two grid. And there's a few different ways to do this. Um, I'm just gonna duplicate, paste in the same place, and then we're gonna duplicate the two by two grid. So if you don't
Oh
really
wait,
care about,
how did you do that? You
sorry,
duplicated.
um,
So you select the
if you grab the grid here, you go to copy, and then you go to paste to same place.
align to same place.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
And then we're gonna add, we'll grab that grid, we'll go to edit type. We'll duplicate the name here, and we'll call this wood slats. And we only want the grid to go in one direction, so we're gonna remove it from whatever, it doesn't really matter. You can rotate this after, but we're
Hmm.
just gonna remove the grid in one direction. And we're gonna remove the, sorry, we're gonna keep the interior, but we're going to remove the exterior grid. So all we're going to have is the rectangular mullions in interior grid 2. And then we're going to turn off interior grid 1. And then we're going to
Okay.
change this to be every 2 inches.
Grid two, fixed distance, 2 inches. Grid one is off.
Yeah.
Then we have none, 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 rectangular,
Yeah.
quarter mullion. One, that's our three-quarter one.
Yeah.
On the interior, it's the interior type that stays on.
Correct. So there's going to be an
Okay.
issue with this, which we can fix. It's going to take a second because it's going to create a lot of mullions. And
I
it's going to
see
ask us
that.
if we want to delete curtain mullion. We probably want to delete those.
Oh, oops. I clicked OK. I
That's
need to
fine.
back it up.
Uh, so it is actually pausing here, which is good.
So mine came in weird. Um, Maybe it's I gotta offset it more, but it only did like a quarter of it. Or yeah, mine's only showing a quarter of it done.
Sorry, I think I'm on the wrong side of it. There we go. A quarter of it done.
Actually, not even a quarter. It just did like one section of it. Maybe I clicked something wrong. So I have grid one, none. Grid two, fixed distance, 2 inches. Then I have interior type, rectangular, 1 inch by three quarter. And then I have everything else none.
So it probably has something to do with the exercise. So just go
I
like this
also
and
I
delete it.
didn't I didn't delete I didn't click delete instances, and that's probably what caused the issue.
It might have, yeah. So just delete that. Hit the delete button.
Okay. Yep.
We'll go to new roof. It's sometimes actually a good practice to do this anyways, because it actually is going to keep a lot of extra mullions. And so there is a couple hacks here. So we can do to our wood slats, and we can just pick our lines again, pick our exterior lines.
So I wait, are we drawing a new roof and then turning the slopes off?
Yeah,
Okay,
new roof, turn the slopes off.
got that.
And then we want to go back to an elevation and we want to find out where those wood slats are. So they're up really high, so we need to lower them down.
We're using our wood slats family,
Yeah.
and then we're bringing it down.
Yeah. And you actually want the wood slats to start at the felt. So they're basically inset into this. And so you see how when we do
Hmm.
this, it's like just one big slab of wood slats and it doesn't like actually break at the curtain grids. So there's a couple ways to solve that.
So my slats aren't even showing up at all.
Where
It's
did
just a
you adjust the height of where they are?
yeah. I've got them here. I can share and show you. So if I share, so I had this is I don't know if you can see that green outline, but that's my wood slat uh roof.
Look at them in an elevation. Do you have a section?
Um, I I don't have an elevation for this. I can draw one.
Or just draw a section through there. Turn on thin lines at the top.
Thin lines.
Yeah, this button right here. And now zoom in.
So that's like my wood
Okay, so let's
slates.
go to edit type. So you kept your interior type on grid one, but you turn on your grid on grid two.
So this needs to be, wait, what did I do?
See how it says grid one?
Yeah, mullions or grid one up here.
Yeah, so just turn off grid one, go to none, turn off mullions on grid one, go to here, change that to be none, and then change this one down to be that one.
Ah, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, so let me
Sorry.
go back to sharing here for a second.
It's like frozen. It's not letting me stop sharing. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I might lag out. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Says Zoom is not responding, so let me close program and join.
I just stopped your sharing. Can you hear me still? All right. So you'll notice on this time, now when I have the slats here, they're not stopping at all the mullions. So a few ways to start to fix that. We could actually switch to our 2x2 grid and then just switch back. And it's going to keep those grid lines, but we can delete the mullions in them. So see how now there's kind of
Oh yeah, wait, I missed that. What did you do? You deleted the vertical
yeah. So
and
essentially, It's
And
actually not a
if
great way of doing it. Basically, doing is it's keeping this mullion right here. So it's not really a great way. So I just changed the type. It is kind of quick fix. Um, Another way to do it is this. This is probably the best way to do it. It's a little more work, but what we're going to do is instead of creating one big grid like this, what we're going to do is just create a small grid. And so what we're going to do is we're going to pick the inside of the mullions like that, and we'll just turn off this. So this one's a little more tedious, but it will look better. And so now what we have to do is just copy this all over the place. So I'll go
Mhm.
to my ceiling view,
Hmm.
and this is actually pretty simple. You can use the array button,
Yep.
and we can array this over, and we have like 12 maybe. Yeah, that's pretty good, guys. And then what we can do again is now we can array this this way. So I'll just select my groups only.
Hmm.
And now we can array this down this way. And what I would say, um, did I copy? I think I copied that instead of array. And what I would say for this kind of thing, um, is it's best to probably modify your ceiling so it fits exactly within a 2 by 2 grid.
Hmm.
And so you don't have these like extra weird spots. So now when you look at this, it looks very pristine, the wood slats.
Yeah, I was trying to so our 2 by 2 grid that we're using as kind of the base, you turned off, was it grid one?
Well, you just have to have the grid and everything to match, right?
Yeah.
So well, this one I just used my wood slats grid. This is probably a better way to do it. It is just to array all this over like this. Because the other way doesn't look perfect. It's close, but it doesn't look perfect. And then you can just go through here and you can find um, where this line stops. And I'd find the outside of the mullion and bring that in like that. And I'd do the same on this side. And then you just bring the felt in.
Nice.
And that's like a perfect slatted ceiling basically on a grid. And then the
Yeah.
last thing you can do is this material is just aluminum. And so what you could do with this is you could change this to be um, duplicate material and asset, and you could change this to like a gray or black. We could do a black aluminum. And we can do a tint here and tint that really dark. Maybe just I wouldn't
Hmm.
go all the way to black, maybe go just like a slight gray just so there's a little bit of difference. And that didn't change anything. Let's see here. The tint might not work. Yeah, so I did do a tint. Um, let's click use rendered appearance. Oh, well, I just want to change. Um, Black. Yeah, so I mean, you could just change the color here, the shading, because I think this is using shading, not textures right now. I think it would render black, but if you just do like a slight gray, just so you can see the grids,
Mm-hmm.
that starts to look pretty sharp. So that's how to do a wood slat.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's exactly what I needed.
Mhm.